You're listening to the Dazed and Infused Podcast. Welcome back to a great episode of Dazed and Infused. We're happy to have Mila Jansen, the Hash Queen, with us today. Now, bear with us. We had a little technical difficulty with the recordings early, and it is a little janky in terms of like the transition, but I wanted to capture everything Mila had to say. So stick with us. This is going to be a great episode. I think you're going to enjoy it. That's Mila Jansen, the Hash Queen. She's going to tell us about her trips in Afghanistan, Pakistan, learning about manufacturing hash, invention of so many of the devices that are used to extract hash today, and her series, The Dabadoo, and of course, her book, Mila, the Hash Queen, available online and in stores near you everywhere. Stay tuned. I think you're going to enjoy this show. The winner of the Willie contribution to the cannabis business. Mila, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Pleasant to have you here. Cheers.
Cheers.
On the award and everything.
Yeah.
I got to remind everyone, this show is always brought to you by Shoogies, my company. We try to bring you great products, infused products for the THC-minded and those who don't want to smoke on a daily basis. Basically, Mila is known as the Hash Queen, and we'll bringing out her book to show you guys so you can get out there and buy it. Mila, your career is varied, long, and as a woman in the cannabis business, even a better thing. Let's start at the beginning. I saw pictures of you in Goa.
Yes.
1968.
Yes.
You had 4 children.
Not at that time yet, but
Not yet.
Yeah.
So I saw a picture of you and your your daughter or son, I don't know,
Yeah.
long hair, so who knows when they're that age.
Daughter probably.
Yeah. And I was about the same age at that time.
Okay.
And I remember all of my basically aunts and uncles where Goa was the destination. 1966, 1972, that was the golden period of Goa, I think. Do you agree?
The first time I arrived in Goa was October 68, and that winter there was only 11 travelers there. The next year,
11?
Yeah, there was only 11 of us.
Wow.
The next year, 200. The next year, 5,000.
Incredible.
And then it just grew exponentially.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That was the time at which, for you youngsters who are on Instagram, you don't know, George Harrison was very big in Goa. The Beatles, other people came down to find enlightenment through several of the swamis that were around then. Not the swami we know in the cannabis business today, but shout out to you, Swami, if you're watching. But it was a place of enlightenment, a place to go get spiritual enlightenment.
I think those places were a bit further north than Goa. Goa was a holiday from India.
Okay.
Goa was a party place.
Party place.
Right from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you do in Goa? What was your trade there?
I just lived there.
Yeah.
And I remember one time trying to make hash brownies. It was for some celebration or something. And I made them too strong.
So at this point, our Instagram feed went down due to poor hotel internet. We pick it up from here with a much better broadcast and feed. Okay, we're back after technical difficulties have been resolved, and we're on YouTube, Zoom, and Instagram. Good morning again. Latham Woodward here with Dazed and Infused Podcast with Mila Jansen, Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award winner. Welcome back to the show after our technical glitch. Mila, it's so nice to see you again here. And we were talking about Goa and your experience there. And after Goa, did you go back to the Netherlands?
I hitchhiked out to India, 68, with my daughter at that time. Went through Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India,
Yeah.
and I stayed there, and everywhere people smoke hash.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that, but in Amsterdam, when I started smoking, there was no weed,
No weed?
no coffee shop.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Well,
So you had to go down to the harbor, and one of the pub owners would have gotten some hash from the sailors. And that's how you could get hash in the States.
and it's a common misconception, just to get off track a little bit,
Yeah.
that cannabis is not legal per se in the Netherlands. It's tolerated, correct?
It's tolerated to sell it in the coffee shop, and it's totally illegal to grow it for the coffee shops.
Ah,
I always call this thing, Dutch hypocrisy.
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that, like most cannabis laws, is crazy.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason for how or why they do things.
Yeah.
They all seem to be orchestrated at somehow capturing you. It doesn't matter how,
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think they weren't quite as vicious in Holland as they were here in those days.
yeah.
Yeah.
What after your truck? When did it come into your head to do the ideas for creating hash? When did that happen? What year? Like 70, 72?
No, like I was smoking hash all the time. And on my travels, I could get it all the time.
Yeah.
I couldn't get weed. It was only when I came back to Amsterdam in 1988 that I was confronted with coffee shops that had lots of weed and maybe some Moroccan hash. Now, I know many people love Moroccan hash, but I know for a fact it is not their tradition. I was there in 65 and they had no hash.
Okay.
They had weed and they would have black tobacco. They would chop it up together, very fine, and that would be what they smoked.
Yeah.
It was not hash. So they learned basically from the hippies that were coming back from the East.
Okay.
Yeah.
To this
So
day,
I never really considered the Moroccan hash as a full hash.
true hash.
So because I was growing and had the material and knew how it was done, that's why I started for myself.
Okay. And did you do it for personal reasons or did you do it for commercial reasons at that time?
Only personal.
Only
reasons.
personal.
Yeah.
So you took pride in what you were smoking, obviously.
Well, I made what I preferred to what I could buy anywhere in Amsterdam at that time.
That's great. A lot cheaper too. I'm assuming. So with regard to hash, you don't smoke flower, for instance, or
No, because in the end it turned out all that time, for 20 years I'd been smoking hash before I came back to Amsterdam and the place was full of coffee shops and weed and everything. And I tried 3 times. But after 20 years of hash, we never really did it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know from my personal experience in Europe, we still have a family house in the south of France, and I still have some blonde Afghani hash stashed in a secret drawer somewhere. No one will find it. And my experience with hash has been like smoking spleefs on the Seine with my friends, and it's such a social thing, especially with the tobacco additive.
Yeah.
Becomes more of just a part of your life rather than, I'm going to sneak off or I'm going to smoke weed outside. It becomes part of the integrated process of drinking beer, socializing.
Yeah.
And I like that about it.
Yeah.
With respect to let's just jump ahead a little. Your inventions, the pollinator, correct?
Yeah.
And what was the bag's name?
Isolators.
Isolators, yes.
And then later we came with a washing machine.
The washing machine. So with respect to that, you now have made a business out of this.
Yeah.
And it's a hard question because there's no right answer because everybody's got to do what they have to do. Do you still enjoy it as a business, or is it taken away from the enjoyment of the process?
The people that you deal with are all hash smokers usually, otherwise they don't come to my place.
Yes.
So we have something to get on with, and no, I like it. And more recently, actually about 10, 12 years ago, I started giving hash parties.
Mm-hmm.
They're called the Dabadoo.
Dabadoo, yes.
And I have no category for weed in there. I felt always there was enough weed cobs and everything. I wanted to be special. I only smoke hash. So my dabadoo is only for hash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because it stands apart. There's extract festivals now, there's hash ones, and there's
Yeah, there is now, but in the beginning, everything was geared towards weed.
So back in that era when I was like a little boy, I was 6 in 1970. I had my hippie aunts, and I grew up here in Marin County, California, where I met Janis Joplin when I was a kid because she came around because she was practicing. Did you have much attachment to this market, the California market, whether it was just distantly or personally with the weed culture here or the hippie culture here?
No, not at all, really. And it was because the high times in those days had their cup in Amsterdam. And so I met Americans there.
Yes.
And I met a girl, she became my friend. And she wrote the very first article about the pollinator for High Times. So that was like, yeah, then people started
hitting you up.
Yeah, and we had to figure out because our 220 motors had to be different motors that you could just flip to 110. Is that what you have here? Electricity.
Yeah, 110, yes.
Yeah, so the switch, and you could switch it both ways.
220 to 110.
Yeah. Because we started then, from then on, we started getting orders from the States.
You did?
Yeah.
Was it a preponderance of people in California though? Or was it Humboldt or a region or everywhere?
Well, I started the company in 94, so it's a long time ago. I can't really remember the addresses where they went. But I
all over, right?
Yeah, I assume they went to that part of the country. Yeah.
Did you ever face any sort of prosecution or persecution due to what you were making as a tool to do this, or was it kind of under the radar with authorities there?
I was scared to come to the States in those days in case somebody figured out my name, and I wasn't wanting to have to stay longer than I wished.
Yeah. Well, as I noticed, I have a young woman who's worked for me in the past. Her name is Mila Jansen.
Okay.
And I said to her yesterday, Marta, I think I'm interviewing one of your relatives, and she quickly came back to me and said, Jensen is like Smith. We're probably not related. So I don't think they would catch you by your name,
Yeah, well, I was just worried.
Yeah. But you obviously made a business that has transcended the Netherlands. You've gone everywhere worldwide. You've traveled everywhere. You have exposure in South America. And
we had dabbadoos down there.
You did?
Last fall, I went down for well over 3 months. And we first went to Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Mexico, Costa Rica. And the last dabbadoo was in Colombia on my birthday, so that was perfect.
Nice. Where were you, Medellin or Cartagena?
No, we were in Santa Marta.
Santa Marta.
Yeah.
And how is the climate down there for cannabis? I've heard it's opening very much up.
Yes, I was there 3 years earlier, also with less dabadoos, but some, and the quality and the amount of people, entries, people that were making hash.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I like it down there because you get like 6 or 7 glass blowers that just follow the dabadoos along.
Oh, artisans coming along out.
Yeah, and then,
I get it.
And then wherever you are, if you're in Uruguay, you'll have people coming from Colombia, from everywhere. So people started knowing each other from all the different South American countries and inviting each other over, and it became very like a big band.
Communal.
Kind of, very communal. Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So let's just drift off away from your history and talk about, there's certain things that are happening right now within the cannabis space, and they are like the emphasis on potency. Yeah. And I know I've heard you comment before on like just weed, like high potency weed being too much almost, right?
Yeah, for me, smoking weed was too different from smoking hash. I couldn't.
Oh, in dabbing, correct?
Dabbing is also not my favorite. It's like smoking a whole spliff in one toke, and I usually end up coughing. And at this age, I don't want to make problems for my lungs more than necessary.
Well, that's why, I'm 59 years old, right? And I can't really smoke anymore. It's very hard, and it gets harder and harder and harder to smoke, especially a bong. I'd love to smoke a bong. I can't. It's just too much. And it's just one of these things that you kind of age out. And all of you people on Instagram, if you're still watching here, you'll learn this faster than you know, that you can't continue dabbing. It's a hard way to go. And then let me just ask you about going about the potency again.
Oh yeah.
This is a trend that in California is really becoming, I would almost call it problematic.
Well, I know for a fact that seed companies, Dutch ones I know, are all about increasing the THC and decreasing the CBD. And so I think that's the wrong balance, actually.
Yeah.
You get young people who can't cope and get kind of waffly. And then if I think back to the East, where also young people are smoking, they're having more, making hash from land races, and where there's a much higher percentage CBD. And I never saw a young person kind of waffling around
or
the way people
lose their shit.
Yeah.
And
I think that's an important fact that these breeders never took into account.
Yeah, I was watching an interview with Tim Blake, your host at the Emerald Cup today. And Tim was talking about something I find fascinating that doesn't exist anymore, and the Acapulco Golds, the Panama Reds, the
Lebanese,
the original Thai stick, old school Sensimilla blends from Jamaica and the Caribbean, naturally propagating, self-propagating. These things don't exist really.
Not much.
Not much.
Well, and also I think, and I don't know whether that's good or bad, people from the US or from Europe will go to other countries and take their seeds with them.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that's good, and in the end, the whole world is just going to be having one kind if it gets mixed up enough.
I think that's a big concern, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
I think now in Morocco, because I must say about a quarter of the coffee shops in Amsterdam belong to Moroccans. So any new American genetics that is coming over, which is much loved in Holland at the moment, the guy would just phone down to his village, get some seeds, and the whole village will grow it.
Yeah.
And he will have it. In this way, I think the landrace, I doubt very much you can really still find an original Moroccan.
Yeah, I did. There's a fellow by the name of Gage Amsler. He was a Afghani veteran.
Yeah.
And he brought back original landrace strains that he smuggled in after his military service and brought back to the United States. And Gage is on tour right now. Gage, shout out if you're there anywhere. But I think these things, this is I know there's some places like and what's her name? I can't remember, but she's doing an amazing job at seed banking and trying to really do this. And there are a number of people here in California who are really taking this by the horn and really putting their efforts into preservation of landrace strains and heritage strains. And I know we talked before we went on air that that some of the guys that I grew up with in Felton down in Santa Cruz, Malawi was their big thing, and really trying to keep that tight to their vest. And at one point, I mean, seeds were $30, $40 a piece, But the problem is, like, one of my favorite strains, Forbidden Fruit, has become so degraded that now if you look at
so many times,
it's not the same thing. It is not the same thing, and it's very disappointing. It looks the same, smells the same, but it's all about cross-pollination.
I have a good example of that in Switzerland. They were allowed to grow. So they were the big farmers. They'd come to Amsterdam and they'd buy a kilo of good seeds, go back, plant a whole field. But I came there 5 years later with Ed Rosenthal because he'd asked me to help translate it. Yeah. And Ed was complaining everywhere. He couldn't get the high. Because what had happened at the end of the valley, there was a hemp grower. So when we got there 5 years later, everybody was fucked up. The hemp had too much THC. It didn't qualify as hemp anymore. And the smoking weed had degraded,
The bees did their job.
Yeah.
And the flies.
No, I think it goes air, pollen goes by air.
Well, yeah.
Whichever way it was.
Naturally pollinated.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to step over here and grab your book. Why don't you tell the people the name of your book and where they can find it? And I'll be right back. I'll grab a copy of it.
Okay. I ended up writing a book, and it's called Mila, How I Became the Hash Queen. And I became the hash queen for inventing this first mechanical system of separating the crystals, the trichomes from the plant. That was my big thing, because if you look now, this knowledge has advanced so far, I don't even know all the terminology anymore. When I started making hash, the word terpenes and cannabinoids were not part of our awareness.
No.
All we tried to do was create something that made us high, and it worked. Yeah, this is the book. I'll be selling it at the Emerald Cup. If you are not able to be there, you can order it through pollinator.nl, www.pollinator.nl, and it will be there, and I'll sign it for you and we'll ship it over.
Well, it's to produce something like this, and you actually have a box set with your video on it too, Mila's Journey.
Yeah, that's the limited edition, and you get the book and the video, and you get some different nice goodies from history.
Well, you heard it here. You get a nice twofer, as they say. My social media person, Fabian, hello, nice to see you. Out there in the ether. He has some questions for you too. What does the next evolution of legalized cannabis look like to you? I'm very big advocate of normalization. I've heard you say that too.
Normalization is what it needs.
Yeah, and I think before we get to your answer, I'm constantly disturbed by how alcohol and the drug industry, large pharma, has dictated what we're doing and how they have made it legal but prevented everyone else. So let's have your take on that.
There's a very recent example in Amsterdam. As of the beginning of this month, you are not allowed to walk smoking a joint in the red light district because of the disturbances. Now, I must say the disturbances don't come from the smokers. The red light district is very popular with young people who want to get drunk. And they're the ones who create the disturbances. But nothing is mentioned about that. No. The smokers aren't allowed to smoke it on the street in town anymore.
I've said it many times on my podcast that you don't hear of a guy smoking hash, smoking weed, and going to rob a bank.
Exactly.
Okay, it doesn't happen.
Creating a fight, really.
Yeah, it doesn't happen because there's the energy's been taken out of the situation. They're just gonna smoke and just go, yeah, I got other shit to do, or forget what they were planning.
A friend of mine in Amsterdam, he owned a pub and a coffee shop, and then at some point he had to make a choice. He couldn't be in both businesses, and he chose the coffee shop. He said the pub gets more rowdy the later it gets.
Yeah,
the coffee shop is relaxed. Everybody is cool.
Yeah, I think if you go to any of the lounges, which the sore point we'll bring up in a minute here, you don't see bouncers there throwing people out on their tail.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen because people are just chill.
Yes.
Even people who entered angry leave happy, right? So, because you're a woman pioneer in the cannabis space, and I don't even think you probably considered yourself that at the original origin, did you? No, you were just doing your thing.
Yeah.
This is a hard question to ask, do you feel that there is not enough representation of women in the business, or do you think it's just a matter of like, hey, everybody's got good ideas, they have to come to the table with them and try? Because obviously you got to where you are by just putting in your effort and your work. And that just speaks volumes.
I had 4 kids who wanted to tweet 3 times a day. Whatever else I did, I had to make enough money for that.
Yeah. You had to feed your kids.
Yes.
Always. I get that.
Yeah.
So that is a great motivator. Obviously, children are a huge motivator.
Yeah.
Were you a single mom?
Yeah.
You, oh, wow, okay.
Most of the time, not all the time.
Okay.
Of course, but
So that's an extra need to feed those kids
yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And what words of encouragement would you give women getting in the business now? I mean, other than hard work and stick-to-itiveness, do you feel it's a viable avenue for people?
Yeah, well, some people are just born to work, and others seem to be born to an easier life.
Yeah,
I was definitely born to work.
I get it.
One of those people. And just if you have, I always tell people, follow your dreams and then go and actually do it. Don't let it remain a dream that one day maybe, just go out and do it. Now I think the climate over here in the States is that it shouldn't be much of a problem to start whatever is in your mind to do. And I did this with hash because that's just my love in life anyway. And yeah, I have a lot of fun with it, especially now that I do these dabadoos and travel different countries. And it's like this whole hash movement because many people didn't know about hash. They were just smoking weed. And I'm always happy to see how many people do like hash.
I miss it.
Secret conquering.
Yeah, but I miss the old candy bars. You remember those? The almost like a Hershey bar. We used to get those here.
Yeah, we didn't get those here.
Okay, we got those, and we had obviously Temple balls were very big.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of people in the state doing Temple balls. Shout out to you, Green River. And those are super cool. I mean, I did read or hear where you said in Afghanistan, they would sometimes spit in them to get the liquid enough to roll them, correct?
I've never seen that.
Yes, but
whether they do or not. Actually, maybe I've seen them dip their fingers in the middle water.
Yeah, that's
I've never actually seen them spitting.
Well, I've heard that before. Maybe not from you. In terms of the governmental problems, okay, obviously this change in the law in Amsterdam is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It doesn't treat adults as adults.
Well, the whole world seems to be moving forward, but we must be really bad at voting because Amsterdam is going backwards.
Well, it was.
They're closing coffee shops. They're creating new problems. You're still not allowed to grow for the coffee shops. It's
who do you think is behind that, though? It seems like so anti-business. Number one, it seems anti. Adult use. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Someone behind it.
The prime minister we had before, he was against it for religious reasons, and he would say so on TV.
Yeah.
Somebody like that, you can't change them.
No, you're never going to change them.
And I don't know. And then we got this guy now he's just horrible. I've never seen him spontaneous laugh in the 12 years he's been prime minister.
12 years he's been prime minister?
Yeah.
That's 8 years too long.
Yeah, and he's trying to go for one more.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, you did have the recent farmers thing.
Yes.
That was very refreshing to see that.
And it was a protest vote, and I must say I also voted for this woman.
Yeah,
because when you saw them on TV, most of the politicians are all sliming and what she said was just straightforward and made sense.
You can't let the Netherlands be dependent on everyone else for your food.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. The Netherlands and every country should be somewhat self-sustaining. That's a goal.
The problem is that we export too much.
Yeah.
We support too much of the food, and why should we be supplying pork for half of Europe? Let them do it over there.
Yeah.
It fucks up our environment.
Grow hemp and feed the pigs hemp. Exactly. There you go. So is this your last thing, getting this lifetime achievement? I don't think so. Where are you going now? What's your next evolution of me?
Personally, is that I want to build a hemp home for myself.
A hemp home?
Yes.
Oh, admirable.
Yeah. It's completely without a footstep, and nowadays, that's my dream.
Well, I'm going to introduce you to Anthony from Clade 9. Anthony, if you're watching. Anthony is an inventor of a hemp brick that is fireproof, stands up to intense fire, and you can assemble it much like Lego.
Yeah, we have, I don't know if it's his hemp bricks or whether somebody's copied it, but we have white bricks about this big with holes going, several holes for electric and water. And apparently if your foundation is good, you can just glue them together. I've seen them, and I did personally a course on how to, on the inside, put loam on the walls.
Yeah.
And that's cool in summer and warm in winter, and the humidity is always perfect.
Nice. So it's kind of a self-sustaining environment.
Yeah. So that's my dream.
That's a good dream. Yeah. This award, you're the winner of the Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award. It must be pretty special and great feeling to get.
Yes, it is very special.
I mean,
I used to listen to On the Road Again so many times. We were on the road a lot.
Yeah. But it's just kind of a culmination of a career that you really, this is my interpretation at least, you didn't think this was going to be a career, did you? At the beginning?
No, certainly not. I didn't realize what a big thing it was for the hash industry. But I remember talking to Frenchie.
Frenchie Cannoli.
Frenchie Cannoli
for all you kids on Instagram.
Frenchie Cannoli was in Goa also, a bit later than I was, but we figured out that at some point we had been at the same New Year's Eve party. Now he was 25 years younger, French and a bachelor. I was a mom of 4, so we never really shook hands at that time.
I get it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we lost Frenchie.
Very unfortunately, he was a great friend. Oh yeah, what I was going to say one time when I first met him, I said, Frenchie, when we were in Goa, could you ever in your wildest dreams have imagined you'd become a living legend? And of course, we just cracked up laughing because it was the last thing we were aiming for, living in Goa.
Right. But living legend is a great thing to become. The culmination of your career, and also in a career that actually kind of came into the legal realm. And it's like you weathered the storm of possible incarceration. You weathered the storm of, growing problems, of manufacturing problems, all these things that stood in your way, and you stood strong and you still produced. And I think that's
at one point we had that's how the whole culminator thing started. Because at one point I had a greenhouse. It was I was working 4,000 square meter, 26,000 plants, 24,000 plants. And me and the farmer were the only people that ever went to the greenhouse. Nobody else was there.
Not allowed, or just?
Oh no, you can't grow for the coffee shops. You certainly can't grow a whole greenhouse for.
I got it.
This was in 93 something. And I wasn't there, but it got passed. And then I suddenly realized, what the fuck was I doing this? What would happen to my kids if I'd been there? So from that day on, I never grew again. And I had already come up with this pollinator, which I would just use for my own private use.
Right.
And I'd give some to friends, and that was very nice. And so I got the idea, well, maybe just start manufacturing them and become legal. You're not touching anything.
It's just an amazing arc, and right now, you're 73, correct?
78.
78. Okay. Well, congratulations. It's I recently lost my mentor, Dick Hara, who was my mentor in growing and consuming, and a gentle soul who was a teacher of children, high schoolers who were troubled high schoolers. And we are looking at, a life, where the people that we view as mentors are going to the next whatever it is. And, we need more people picking up the mantle, your mantle. Your kids, are they involved with you in the business?
Yeah, my eldest daughter, she does my Instagram and my media. And I'm eternally grateful for that because none of these things existed.
Right.
And I'm too old to learn.
Right. Well, right now you're going out live to not only YouTube, but to LinkedIn and to Instagram if we're still live,
Yeah.
based on our dodgy internet service here. But the reality is like it's a new world where someone like yourself, someone like myself, we can get our messaging out there.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to write a book and hopefully it will sell on its own.
Yeah.
You know, now you can advertise. And this is a good book, guys. It's a big book, so you're going to get a lot of information out of it.
There's 170 photographs in there.
Wow.
Also. Color photographs, and it took me 11 years to write. I'm not a very organized author that sits up, gets up at 8 and starts. Well, it took me 11 years to write it.
I don't think that's a bad thing. You didn't rush it.
I didn't rush it.
You didn't rush it. So in parting really today, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, by the way, and congratulations on the award. What inspirational message or what messaging would you give to, especially our Instagram crowd here? What for in the weed business or just in life in general? What's your message to them?
Just to really do what makes you happy, because if you have to do a job that doesn't make you happy, that's no good. But if you love weed and you manage to work with it, I don't know, I've never met unhappy growers. Well, maybe because they have some problem.
Business oriented,
Yes,
usually, yeah.
Yes, but the whole fact that they're growing just puts a big smile on their face. And that's the best. Yeah. Yeah,
good message. I appreciate that. And I hope the people who are out there talking or listening today and they're watching this, the cannabis business is a real business. And those, I'm talking about normalization. And just a parting messages here. Weed is not a drug that injures. I've never really seen it except for financial crimes and things like that, or holdups. It is something that should be normalized. I heard the only guy ever died, he got from a ship, a load fell on his head, and that he was the only one. That's good. So keep normalizing, and for and for you people on Instagram who are younger in the 21 and up crowd, keep your efforts up. You're admirable in what you do. I think smoke weed on the street, let people know it's not a weird illegal thing. To the states that are currently not allowing cannabis consumption, you got to get your shit together. It's ridiculous. And incarceration, and shout out to Andrew and Steve D'Angelo here. Your efforts in the Last Prisoner Project have meant a lot to a lot of people. I'm going to hopefully talk to the Delicio people today at the Emerald Cup. And if you hear of anybody who's been incarcerated because of cannabis use, please use your voice. Activism is important. No one in this country should be incarcerated due to possession of cannabis. It's ridiculous. So on that note, I want to say, Mila, thanks so much for being here today. Thank you. Congratulations on me. You're welcome. And it's gonna be great seeing you receive your award tonight. I'll be there. Okay. In your very pretty dress. And continued success in everything you do. Sometimes I wish that could give me this prize when I was a couple of tens of years younger. So you could really get out there and really party. But you're going to see me dance there tonight. Okay, sure. Till 4 a.m. at the Cranway Pavilion. Oh my God. We'll see you at 4. I don't know till 4 a.m. As the Spanish say, I'll have churros and chocolate for you at 4 a.m. Well, thank you, Mila, and it's been a pleasure. And congratulations again. Thank you very much. We're going to sign off here on Instagram and on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And thank you very much for attending. And we'll see you soon here on Dazed and Infused. Wave to the people, Mila. Love you. Love you. Hope to meet you one time. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks very much for being here with us for this amazing episode with Mila Jansen, the Hash Queen. More on so many other great personalities in cannabis coming up in the new series of Dazed and Infused. Thanks again for being here. And as always, This show is brought to you by Shoogies, SHOOGIES, the 500 milligram and 1,000 milligram infused agave concentrate. The best THC you can buy for the money. Amazing, water soluble, and available at a dispensary or delivery service near you. Thanks again. We'll see you again here on Dazed and Infused.